Not a single character over the course of the final saga of One Piece has carried more significance in such a short window of time. In this massive, chaotic world where legends chase after freedom, treasure, or revolution, one man erased from the annals of history stands alone: Rox D. Xebec. Marked as a dangerous terrorist by the world government, he leaves everything he chased behind in this world to go after and save his family. This twist has made him uniquely complex in the grand scheme of One Piece's politics, as it is the first mix of raw domination and sacrificial loyalty. Unlike Luffy's optimistic adventures or Roger's inspirational voyage, Xebec waged war on the establishment for his personal gain, yet managed to make the choice of family over everything else. Let's sail into a grand analysis on his background, ambitions, and finally his lasting legacy in One Piece's story. Born under the name of Davy D. Xebec on the unaffiliated nation of God Valley, he descended from a secret persecuted clan, the Davy clan. A clan tied to ancient secrets like the Void Century and the Will of D. To survive the government's hunts, he hid his true name and family, which included his wife and an infant son, a boy who will be known by the world as Marshal D. Teach, or Blackbeard, an emperor of the sea. As captain of his own band of pirates, Rox commanded an alliance of both current and future powerhouses, the likes of Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido, Shiki, and many others. This wasn't a particularly loyal team like the Straw Hat crew or Whitebeard's found family. It was a bottomless keg of egos united by Xebec's overwhelming strength and ambition, and everyone followed to see his plans to their end. Rivalries between the crewmates kept brewing throughout their history, as can be seen with Big Mom's distrust over him. The crew set camp on Hachinosu and built up their numbers through brutal Davy backfights, garnering elite recruits under their name. As the crew grew stronger and they were all clued in on their captain's global ambitions, there soon came a turning point. An incident that would shake the world and become known as the God Valley Incident. 38 years ago from the modern era of the One Piece story, all of the world's greatest crews from many factions, including pirates and navy members, gathered to this one island for a deeply complex exchange of power and ideologies. Initially seen as a plunder raid, recent chapters have revealed a far deeper motive, and subsequently shed light on lies that we as the reader fell for. Xebec's true goal on the island was not to defeat Garp, Roger, the Holy Knights, or anyone else as a symbolic gesture of dominance, but he rushed to rescue his abducted family from the Celestial Dragons' cartoonishly evil hunting competition, where his clan was labeled as super rare rabbits due to their hidden and hated lineage. Rox confided in few that he could truly consider friends, one such man being King Harold of Elbaf, sharing sake and pleading for help, where we see a truly human and vulnerable Rox amid his demonic conquests. Eventually, regardless of how we theorize of his fate, we will come to know that Rox met his ultimate end on this island, supposedly sacrificing himself and his dreams for the future of his family, something his son we know isn't going to let go to waste. Whether it was a defeat by an unlikely alliance between Roger and Garp as explained by Sengoku, or whether the island was erased by the likes of an ancient weapon being activated, Xebec dies here protecting those he loves. In his last breath, we will see Rox humanize his legacy, and the blend of terror and tragedy that stems from his actions will finally meet with its end. The main drive of such a legendary figure is something equally as legendary: to fight back against his clan's oppressors, topple the current reigning system, and become king of the world, where he decides the winds of fate. Rox and his crew challenged the world government through direct anarchic assaults. He infiltrated Marie Joie and made himself known to the current reigning king, where he stole tributes, killed admirals, and delved into forbidden histories to make sense of it all. They functioned like a terrorist organization, causing widespread destruction to eventually dismantle hierarchies, believing no rule is eternal. And yet, the most recent chapters have shed some deeper light into Rox as a character and have added depth to an already complex issue. At God Valley, Rox managed to completely let go of these ambitions upon learning that something endangered his family. He abandoned his conquest and prioritized rescuing them over devil fruits or any sort of power grab. This manages to place Rox exactly in the archetype that we've come to expect from someone bearing the D in their name. A D clan member is driven by vengeance against oppression and is softened by personal bonds, unlike the impersonal tyranny of the current government or the ideological purity of the revolutionaries. Through kidnapping kings, recruiting giants, and destroying key structures, it was his clan's persecution that fueled a truly radical path to liberation through domination. This truly sheds light on an issue everyone has discussed since Vegapunk mentioned it. There is a betrayer among the D-Clan, yet even men like Rox or Blackbeard, who are antagonized in the story as they go against the protagonist's core beliefs, can challenge oppression and will fight back against tyranny. Back to Rox's character, his mix of ambition and sacrifice sets him apart politically too. Someone like Roger was driven by dreams of freedom and discovery, which contrasts Xebec's hunger for control. Roger laughed at this world's biggest secret, while Xebec uses forbidden history for assault, with his family being the only thing he ever pivots for. Whitebeard's found family crew also differs from Xebec's opportunism. Even when both show protective instincts, they have wildly different contexts. Big Mom and Kaido build massive empires in light of the fall of Xebec, but his choice at God Valley revealed a vulnerability that they still lack. And nowhere is this more apparent as any interaction between Kaido and Yamato, where Kaido seems to want to learn a lesson from what he probably considers a mistake made by Xebec. And for another example, Dragon's revolution is systemic in contrast to Xebec's anarchy and vendetta. Dragon presumably witnesses the sacrifice made by Xebec and it influences his views on bonds. Perhaps he was inspired by Rocks to follow his ambition while keeping an eye on your family, and that is why Dragon has been the way he has regarding tending to Luffy's life. The world government's erasure of Xebec reveals their ultimate fear, a radical member carrying the will of D, blending a reign of terror with relatable humanity. Blackbeard has also inherited this, possibly carrying trauma behind his vengeance. Ultimately, what makes Xebec so unique in his story is the reveal of why the government had such a massive problem with him to begin with. He was a terrorist unifier and one who sacrificed that domination for his family. He was a persecuted bearer of the D among a more hidden lineage who chose love amid anarchy that he created. His actions birthed a new era, one with warlords, emperors, and with a king. He inspired Blackbeard's path and his actions continue to echo into the era of the worst generation. He disrupted the flow of history orchestrated by Imu, setting in stone decades of history that will be made from that point on. All roads have now led to God Valley. Thanks for watching this literary analysis on Rocks D. Xebec as a character. He is one of the most interesting characters Oda has written so far. What do you think of this twist of the narrative? How will the arc of Rocks reach its end? Comment your thoughts below and we'll see you next week for the chapter review.